Hey guys, welcome back for another video. Today I've got a super clean, very easy install of a high quality front dash cam with advanced features, everything you need under $200. And this is gonna fit a wide variety of different vehicles. Let's get into it. Here's what we're going with. This is the new Garmin Mini dash cam. It does include advanced things like a parking mode, if you want to use that. But its key feature is it's freaking tiny. This will be able to hide completely behind the rearview mirror, which is something I want. I don't want to see the dash cam. It also doesn't have a screen. You control it all through your phone app. So this is great for people like me that just want emergency footage, that aren't interested in reviewing daily footage or pulling video from it regularly or anything like that. You can see the specs here that it's a 140-degree cam. It's going to have great daytime and nighttime coverage. It's 1080p. Yes, there are higher res cams out there, but 1080p is more than good enough in an accident to see what's going on. So, what else do we need? This is super important. No matter what camera you're using, it's a polarizing filter. Now, as a photographer, I'm very familiar with these. You might be sticker shocked a little bit. Polarizing filters for anything are ridiculously expensive. This was about 20 bucks. The camera itself was under 100. So yeah, this is about 20% the cost of the camera. And you're gonna find that's the case with whatever camera you're getting. But virtually all of the high quality ones out there will either come with or have an optional polarizing filter. You need one to cut the glare, not only from the view outside, but directly off the windscreen. It'll cut any of the dash showing up in the videos. It really does make a huge difference, and it is very important. Now, when you get a dash cam, it's gonna come with a long power cable, and you're supposed to snake it through your car, up in the headliner, down in the panels, to the fuse box, or to the cigarette lighter, or a USB port, whatever the camera happens to use. We're not doing any of that. We're using this guy right here. This is going to give us a USB power drop right behind the rearview mirror, as long as your rearview mirror has power to it. So if you have a compass, or if you have an auto dimming mirror, which the vast majority of new vehicles come with these days for quite a while now, you can get one of these adapters. There are several out there. You can ask the company which one will fit your vehicle, or you can just go look. They have multiple out there, and this is just going to plug in and give us everything we need, so we don't need any of the long cables coming from the camera. But since we do need to plug it in, we need a short little cable. This is a 2-pack, one left and one right. So no matter which end of the camera your power port is on, no matter which way it points, no matter which way you want to mount it, you've got a cable. And these were very inexpensive. I think they were less than 10 bucks. And then you need a memory card. Now, I'm a photographer and I have a crap load of memory cards. However, it's important in a dash cam that you use one rated for constant use. So the Samsung here uses the endurance adjective, and it is very appropriate. This is made for constant reads and writes. If you use a normal card, even a high performance one, it will fail eventually, because those are meant for high speed bursts, not constant use. It's a different type of chip on the actual card. So make sure you get a card rated for dash cams. Now, the driving I do, I don't commute. I don't park anywhere regularly that I'm worried about parking mode. But if you are, you do need to get a separate parking mode cable. And it is an optional extra at 100 bucks for the camera. You can't really expect anything less. But the reason it's different is because it monitors your vehicle's battery voltage so you don't drain the car accidentally. If you use a straight cable into power, the parking mode will eventually drain your car battery if you leave it on long enough. So that's something to consider. And I do highly recommend the mode if you park in a structure or on the street or a regular parking lot at work or anything like that. Definitely, it's worth it to use parking mode, but I just occasionally go to the grocery store. It's about it. I'm not that concerned about it. I just want this for normal, everyday, on the road recording. All right, let's get installing. Okay, so we've got our SD card in. We've got the polarizing filter on. It just presses on. You want to put that notch at the 12 or 6 o'clock position. Polarizing filters work on 90-degree angles. This will cut all the horizontal glare, which is what we want, since that's the way the dashboard runs. Now we just need to install it. Actually, it goes this way, upside down. So it doesn't matter if that notch is up or down, just make sure it's vertical. So the first thing you do is fully clean your glass. Even on a brand new vehicle like this, you need to clean it with a good ammonia-free cleaner. I prefer the foams, and that's because there's a lot of outgassing from the new materials in the interior, and it does leave a film even though it looks crystal clear. So then you need to figure out where you want to put it. Now, I don't want to see it. That's part of the design of this install, is I don't want to see the camera. So I'm thinking behind the right side, right up in here, and it should be completely hidden and almost from the outside as well, because I've got a whole bunch of camera arrays right there on the car as it is. Now we can just unplug the back of the mirror. This is what mine looks like. Yours may be different. There are 5 or 6 different types that are used in pretty much all the cars out there, and this company does carry them all. They also have a universal, so if you can't find one, they do have one that just sticks 2 pins right into the sockets of your existing, and that'll work too. So they do have something for everybody. Now here's the adapter, and it goes in place. You can see these ends are the same, and then over on this end, this will connect to the factory harness, and then we have a power outlet for USB, and it'll all be neatly tucked up right there in the mirror. And I think that position will work just fine, completely hidden from my view. And you can tidy up these wires however you like. I've got these nifty little computer Velcro straps, so I'll just make it look nice and tight there. And they do give you both directions of the cable, like I said in the package, so if you've got this and you need it to point down, you get that as well. So let's go ahead and tidy this up and power it on. And there we go. That'll hold everything in place, stop anything from moving, drooping, or vibrating. So now when we power on the car, we have camera power automatically. You go into setup, you can just change the simple options. I've got it set to the highest quality, which is 1080p. It also has a 720p. And you can turn on or off the audio recording, on or off the data collection, and just simple things like that. Other than that, it is completely autonomous. Now you can connect it to your computer directly to download everything that it's got recording, and it's recording constantly in a loop mode. If you ever want to manually make sure you lock a file to make sure it's saved, all you have to do is press the big button on the front panel of it. And that's all there is to it. Everything else is completely automatic. You can also view and save anything directly to your phone through the Drive app. It connects via Wi-Fi, so it is a fast transfer, not quite as fast as the cable to the computer, but more than good enough for anything on the road if something happens, to review footage, show anybody that needs to see it, etc. Aiming it's very simple. There's a live preview button in the app itself, so it's just like putting up a security camera. Easy peasy. We'll do a night test here and finish up the install. I forgot to mention that you can also just pop out the SD card and use that direct in any device, of course. So just as a test, I transferred that clip just from leaving the house, doing the test, and coming back. It was about a 3-minute drive, and it was about a 4-minute file transfer using the Wi-Fi to the app. So you're definitely going to want to just pull the card for any kind of regular transfer. So just for confirmation, here's my view, completely stock. View from outside the car. You can see that you can barely notice anything. So just a note here on video quality. If you are frequently driving in areas like this where it's just tons of foliage all around, a 1080p camera is not going to be for you, because as you'll notice, it's very pixelated and you can't even make out a license plate, even if it's right in front of you driving through stuff like this. And that's simply because there's too much information changing frame to frame. The cameras don't have the bit rate to write to the card that kind of a detailed picture. You would need the very best 4K camera out there and hope that even it has enough resolution to do the job. But once you're out on normal roads and you're not driving through trees, this is where things get more normal. So let's take a look here where the entire frame isn't changing and see what we can see.
I'll get behind this guy here. Now, he's got kind of a cover over his plate, so it's even hard for me to read it with my eyes, but we'll see what the camera shows. It's about 3 car lengths in front of me. Let's see if we can read this as we're moving, see what kind of resolution we get. That'll be a good test of actual normal road use, of how well you can spot plate numbers and details and things like that. Then getting back into the neighborhood here, should be a lot more pixelated. And this happens on every single camera. I mean, even my top of the line GoPros, there's nothing you can do about it. And this is true even of the raw footage. What you're seeing on YouTube is worse than the originals. That's a universal truth. Also, I've got the air conditioning blasting, so you can hear what the audio sounds like, even over a lot of cabin noise. So now we can check out the night footage. I've got the AC turned down, so there should be a little less noise. The other cool thing about this is it automatically syncs up to 4 cams, so you can do picture-in-picture or whatever you want later on. So if you want to install a rear-facing one in the rear window, or side-facing, or a cabin camera, or whatever you want, you can do that up to 4, and the app will automatically handle all 4 at the same time for you. We'll go through some different sections here. This is fairly dark, just with the street lights and my headlights. Go through a parking lot and then hit a road. So this is a good indication of what you would see in, for example, parking mode if you're parking anywhere at night. So you can see details, just in case anybody backs into you or whatever. Come on, dude, go ahead. See if we can see plate details, how it handles exposure. I did look at the daytime footage on my original files, and I can easily read the plates out on the road, so that's no problem. On YouTube, I threw it up on just a temporary file and viewed it on our TV, and it is significantly blurry and pixelated. So unfortunately, you're just not getting a true indication of the quality of this viewing it on YouTube. But the original files do have significantly more detail. So in the event of an accident or anything, you can pull up a lot more information than the YouTube videos are going to show you. And I did max out the bitrate, so it wasn't any kind of limitation of the editing or the working file. See how easily we can read the road signs here. Now, there are no street lights on this street, so it's just your headlights. But you can see by the road signs what kind of detail you can view. Let's see if I can catch up to a car up here real quick. So I'm about 5 car lengths back from this car here. Now I can't read that plate at all with my eyes, so that's not anything unusual. I don't expect the video to show it, of course. I don't feel like tailgating him, but I have no doubt I could read that if he got too close, or I got too close, or someone was hitting me or anything like that. You're going to see a lot of detail once you get to that kind of distance. Now, I do wish the field of view was a little bit wider. 140 is about the standard. There are some that go significantly wider, up to 170. This view is giving you exactly what I see out the windshield, but nothing obviously out the side windows. Some cameras, now of course it's going to depend on where it's mounted on your windshield, but they will give you significantly more views of what's coming from the sides. So bear that in mind if you're looking for something specifically for cross traffic. You may want another model that has the extra wide lens. So we'll get behind this guy here and see at what point we can make out plate details, hopefully. Oh, he's got like an unlit license plate, so I'm not going to see anything. He has no lights on it, just my headlights illuminating it. he's got a cover over it. I still can barely read it with my eyes from the glare. Welcome to Florida. So I'm about one car length behind him, and of course to the side right now. I can read his plate, no problem, just from my headlights from here. And I think that should be in view of the camera, if not, right on the edge. So there you go. I am very impressed for a front-only install, super clean and easy. Very basic, but that's exactly what I want. Just something for an actual emergency or a crash. Again, if you're looking for something for any kind of regular editing, this isn't going to be the one for you. You want something probably higher res and probably with a screen. The next base would be an excellent option. I would get either a 522 or a 622. Both of those are modular. You can add things to them like a rear view cam or a rear window cam. They're magnetic. You can transfer them to different cars, but you are doubling the cost at that point. Now, my wife saw the footage of this today, and she was so impressed, she bought one. And I'm going to be hardwiring that into her Kia Seltos. Very similar to this install, except she doesn't have a power mirror, so I'll just be doing a hardwire drop down her panels to the fuse box. Pretty much the same cost, just a lot more work. That's it. Hope it helps. See you guys next time.